Welcome back to D&D Beyond. It's here. It's the big day. It is the day of dragons. Michael, it's Fizban's Treasury of Dragons Day. How you feeling?
At long last, I am so stoked about this book. I love every single chapter of it, and so many dragons.
Truly, so many dragons, dragon-adjacent creatures, dragon-themed, like, in-world merchandise. It just, a cornucopia of amazing dragon things, including ones that you can use to build new dragon-inspired characters at the table, and that is what we're going to talk about today. So a little while ago, we took a look at the previews that Wizards of the Coast released for D&D Celebration, which were preview versions of one of the 2 new subclasses and one of the 3 new variant Dragonborn playable race options. And finally, we get to crack open the full collection, the Treasury, in fact, and show you the other subclass, the other 2, and some more beautiful, gratuitous art. Preview of what we're doing today is a lot of going, oh my gosh, it's so pretty, Michael, this book.
It's beautiful. I love the artwork throughout this, and especially the gem dragons. I think they're a great addition to D&D.
So in addition to those new gem dragons, to fuller details on all the other sorts of dragons, of course, we have these player options. And first up, we are going to talk about one of the new playable subclasses. This is something new for monks. For monks in Dungeons & Dragons. You have the option now of choosing a monastic tradition of the way of the Ascendant Dragon. Now, first off, let's just name alone. It's good.
5 out of 5 stars for the name.
Yeah, truly. I didn't know, obviously, until we had the book in our hand, I didn't know that Ascendant is basically a category now. I hadn't sort of thought through that, like, that has specific connotations when we're talking dragons and dragon lore, which I think is a great choice. And also, this lets you fly, so good pun there. But
Do you mind if I actually read the intro for this subclass?
Please do.
All right. So the dragon god Bahamut is known to travel the material plane in the guise of a young monk. And legend says that he founded the first monastery of the way of the Ascendant Dragon in this guise. The fundamental teaching of this tradition holds that by emulating dragons, a monk becomes a more integrated part of the world and its magic. By altering their spirit to resonate with draconic might, monks who follow this tradition augment their prowess in battle, bolster their allies, and can even soar through the air on draconic wings. But all this power is in service of a greater goal, achieving a spiritual unity with the essence of the material plane. Isn't that just beautiful?
It's so beautiful! Although you did skip the extremely important opening to this, which is the unmissable and incredible commentary by our friend Fizban the Fabulous, who says, "My favorite Ascendant Dragon monks all narrate their bodily attacks aloud, with fun onomatopoeias. Swish kapow, indeed."
Oh, Fizban, you jokester.
As is typical of these last, I love the way that the narrators they're using for D&D books keep things fun, keep things varied, add their particular voices, and I am extra happy, of course, because I think we are on record as having gotten excited about this before we realized that our friend Amy Vorpal, friend of the channel and amazing human being, was the in-world voice of Fizban, by which I mean she contributed to the writing of these books and especially focused on writing these bits for Fizban. And it makes me very happy. Okay, but much as you could just make your decision based on that, that's not all you have to go on here. We have an origins table, and I really, really love this. Michael, you know what I love to do when we have a table.
Yes, but this time I'm going to turn it around on you. Amy,
Oh
can you roll a d6 for me?
no! I actually did not see that coming. But luckily, like so many of us, not a big ask. Let's find out. I've got a 6, Michael. What does it mean?
Ooh, okay. After a dream featuring a five-handed dragonborn, you awoke with the mystical breath of dragons.
Come on! I love this table. I love the suggestions of the ways that you might get into the subclass. I love the sparks to the imagination. There's things, these range from sort of world building things, like there's a ancient order founded by the specific dragon, to sheer this could plug in any dragon, any person anywhere could have a dream of a five-handed dragonborn. That is infinitely plug-inable. Um,
Yeah, dream
let's talk.
sequences are my favorite tool for like exposition. They're just so easy to be like, well, you're gonna have to fall asleep at some point, so I can write this scene.
Like all of your party is elves. Darn it. Um, figure it out. Make it work somehow.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so let's pretend we are building up a dragon right away, and we'll go back and forth with the description and the builder here. Hmm? New character. Partly this is just the fun of the fact that we can finally hit these buttons and everything shows up. Hmm?
Oh yes, I love playing around the character builder.
But let's say, so we know what we want to do today. We want to make ourselves a monk. A master of martial arts, harnessing the power of the body in pursuit of physical and spiritual perfection. Hmm. But let's say we're up at level 3 here, because that's when we get to pick our. You know what? We're not necessarily going to go all the way through a level 20 build today, but I'm going to hit level 20 because I want to see all the good stuff. Because our
Yeah, that's a
monastic
that's a good idea.
tradition.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff at higher levels in the subclass. So let's show them off.
Way of the Ascendant dragon. So obviously, we get Draconic Disciple at the 3rd level. We're gonna get a bunch of these. Wings Unfurled is gonna show up. And let's, as we dig into what these mean exactly, no one should have given me the power of screen sharing because I like to have every tab open and just go between them at my whim. Tell me about Draconic Disciple, the 3rd level Way of the Ascendant Dragon feature. Your first one that you get once you've chosen this path.
So I'm a really huge fan of Draconic Disciple. It's it's not some big flashy subclass feature, but it gives you some really cool options. So Draconic Presence says that if you fail a charisma intimidation or persuasion check, you can use a reaction to reroll. And then once this feature turns a failure into a success, you can't use it again into a long rest. And I believe it was in Tasha's that we first started to see these types of features where if it doesn't succeed in turning a failure into a success, then you can just keep reusing it until it does work. And it's something that I really appreciate because when you're working with limited resources, you really want to make sure that you're getting the value out of your class features. So I think Draconic Presence is really awesome and thematic when you consider the fact that you're trying to emulate dragons, which are these very charismatic characters that tend to be very sociable or just have really big personalities. And then you also get
Or terrifying if they're not sociable. They're one or the other. So this is why you get either persuasion or intimidation. Here.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Choose your mode. Would you like to be the brutal follower of a dragon, or would you like to be kind and loving? The second part is Draconic Strike. When you damage a target with an unarmed strike, you can change the damage type to acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is no limit to how many times you can use this. So you could effectively have all of your unarmed strikes be a specific one of these specific damage types, which is a really cool way to interact with monsters that may have resistances or vulnerabilities to certain damage types. For example, the mummy, I believe, has vulnerability to fire. So if you're in a type of campaign where you're dealing with a lot of different types of creatures, where you could effectively not maximize your damage, but increase the damage you deal by being strategic in which damage type you use, you can get a lot of mileage just out of this one little feature. And then finally, you have Tongue of Dragons, where you learn, read, and write Draconic or one other language of your choice. Which,
Which
who
is
doesn't like
just,
more languages? Yeah.
I mean, this is my kind of like slip that in there and be like, look, you studied with dragons. I like the if my character were rolling up who had a vision of a 5-handed dragonborn just wakes up knowing Draconic, like, come on. That's a neat, like, why is this happening? What does it mean? That's for you and for your DM. That is a gift of future story. Hmm.
Yeah, imagine you have a dream of uh, a sapphire dragon who is hanging out with a drow, and then you wake up knowing Undercommon. It's like, wait, what? Why? Why did this happen? Well, keep playing,
Well,
you'll find out.
that's very cool, actually. Yeah, so I love the idea that you can anytime you damage a target with an unarmed strike, if I'm reading this right, you can go ahead and choose which damage type it is. So you can even be, and I love that this plays to the idea of like a monk who's really in their power. It feels like they're everywhere doing everything at once. They understand the entire battlefield. And the idea of being like, fire at you, lightning at you, like poison over there, it's as you're going, it's beautifully on theme. Like I can feel all of the elements around me and I can manipulate them to my advantage in really specific ways. That's just monk stuff.
Exactly. And if you're going first in combat, which you very likely will be as a monk with high dex, if you have spellcasters in your group and you're facing some unknown enemy, you can just change each of your unarmed strikes damage type to try and feel out what the creature's resistances, immunities, and vulnerabilities may be. And that way, your spellcasters who have like limited spell slots can make better use of their spells.
I love that. The team up. It's all about the team up. All right. So that's not the only thing we get when we walk down this path at 3rd level. We get the breath of the dragon. 3rd level way of the Ascendant Dragon feature, you can channel destructive waves of energy like those created by the dragons you emulate. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace one of the attacks. This is going to come up throughout today's videos. You can
Yeah.
replace one of the attacks with an exhalation of draconic energy in either a 20-foot cone or a 30-foot line that's 5 feet wide. So cone, well, pretend I'm not doing hand shapes inaccurately, but you get me. Choose a damage type: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. Each creature in that area must make a dexterity saving throw against your key save DC, your monk thing. Taking damage of the chosen type equal to 2 rolls of your martial arts die on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. The key, of course, there being as monks gain in power, that martial arts die is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. At 11th level, that damage is going to go up to 3 rolls of the martial arts die. You have a number of uses of this based on your proficiency bonus, as we've seen an increasingly common model for sort of limiting things. You regain them all after a long rest. And if you are out, you can spend 2 key points to use your Breath of the Dragon again. Michael, what are your plans for your Dragon Breath?
I'm planning to face down some mobs. Monks are, I mean, their big thing is that they can maneuver around the battlefield with ease. So, more than anyone, I think you're going to be able to make use of these 20-foot cones, 30-foot lines without hurting your allies. So, I'm just envisioning a monk that's just running in circles, just shooting cones of fire or poison at my enemies. And it's a
You're
really great visual.
You're gonna make a geometry monk in Strixhaven who's just like, I
Yeah.
have found the precise angle to stand at, and this is my entire thing: is that I will laser through this battlefield at the exact correct angle to devastate my enemies and only my enemies. I
Oh,
love
yes, a Quandrix monk.
it. So obviously very exciting. This pairs well with the like other monk things. Um, and does not require your entire action, which is very nice.
Right, you can just
Wings,
replace one of the attacks with this breath. And I do appreciate that they allow you to choose between a cone and a line, because there are gonna be cases where a 30-foot line is just not gonna make sense for you, if you're just surrounded by skeletons.
yeah, and times that
So
you don't
lots
want
of
to do an entire cone because your fighters in there mixing it up with everybody.
right, yeah. Those
Not
small
immune to
when
poison.
you're in tight quarters, you're not gonna want to possibly be using that cone.
What else do we get, Michael? What's at 6th level? Speaking of getting
Wings
around the battlefield.
Right? Wings unfurled. When you use your Step of the Wind, you can unfurl spectral draconic wings from your back that vanish at the end of your turn. While the wings exist, you have a flying speed equal to your walking speed. And you can do this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus and regain all uses on a long rest.
This one's pretty self-explanatory. But Step of the Wind, for folks who might not have run a monk before, is one of your basic options for spending your key points. And it gets you a bonus action dash or disengage, I want to say,
Hmm.
which is extremely convenient for not getting hit by all the bad guys you're moving past, or for going very, very quickly. And if you can go very, very quickly in any old direction because you can fly, that's just extremely convenient, really.
Yeah, I've definitely had my fair share of battle maps that have a cliff, and then the players are down towards the bottom of the cliff, and they just have to figure out how to get up to the top of the cliff to take down the archers who are shooting arrows down at them. And this completely just ruins that combat scenario for me, and I love it because I want to be
Higher
that
cliffs,
monk.
Michael.
Taller cliffs, more cliffs.
But that sounds amazing. I can't wait to see how you will innovate around that for your even more mobile monks. But we're not done. Aspect of the Worm comes at 11th level for this subclass for monks. And you have a couple of options here. The power of your Draconic Spirit now radiates from you, warding your allies or inspiring fear in your enemies. As a bonus action, you can create an aura of Draconic power that radiates 10 feet from you for 1 minute. For the duration, you gain one of the following effects of your choice. And here is where, if folks were playing around with the monk in Unearthed Arcana, or saw the video we did that on that last fall, there are some changes in sort of the choices they've made as they finalized this one for print. So, what Aspect of the Worm gets you now is a 10-foot aura that's going to get you cool stuff. Michael, what's Frightful Presence?
When you create this aura, and as a bonus action on subsequent turns, you can choose a creature within the aura. They must succeed on a wisdom saving throw against your key save DC or become frightened for 1 minute. And they can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of their turns. So a really great way when you're in the front lines to debuff the scariest of the enemies on the battlefield to increase your survivability.
And then your other options, the other option for your effect here is the always useful resistance. Choose a damage type when you choose this aura: cold, acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. You and your allies within that 10-foot aura have resistance to that damage. Can't do it again until you finish a long rest or spend 3 key points to create it again, which I think is slightly cheaper than the Unearthed Arcana, but also they've changed the effect because there was reaction damage on the other one. And this one's about being a super scary dragon person. Mhm.
I do want to add, where while we're looking at Frightful Presence, at least, that Fizban's also added a monk magic item called a dragon hide belt. I may be
That sounds
misremembering that,
accurate. Let
but
me
it
check.
increases your key save DC, so it makes Frightful Presence easier to stick. So if you're playing with magic items in your campaign, maybe you could talk with your DM to see if that's a particular item that they would allow you to purchase, craft, or even potentially find out in the open, because it is one of the first times, if not the first time, that monks are getting an item that directly increases that particular save DC, aside from any item that might increase your wisdom stat.
Great point. It is the Dragonhide belt, and can be found in Fizban's. And yeah, a lot of very exciting things. I mean, just to tease, it comes in between the Crystal Blade and the Dragon Lance. Is an item in here. So we have so much good stuff we can finally talk about now that the books are out. But we're not done with aspect of with our build yet, because we still have Ascendant aspect. The 17th level way of the Ascendant Dragon feature, your Draconic Spirit reaches its peak you gain the following benefits. Augment breath. When you use your breath of the dragon, you can spend a key point to augment its shape and power. And by this time, you're swimming in key points. You're level 17. Um,
Yeah.
Augment its shape and power. The exhalation of draconic energy becomes either a 60-foot cone or a 90-foot line that's 5 feet wide. Your choice. And each creature in that area takes damage equal to 4 rolls of your martial arts die at a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. And there's 2 other things, Michael, you want to take us through that you can do with this very top level?
Oh yes, blindsight, amazing. Who does not want blindsight? You have blindsight out to 10 feet. Within that range, you effectively see anything that isn't behind total cover, even if you're blinded or in darkness. Moreover, you can see invisible creatures within that range, which is going to be important at these higher levels when your DM is really trying to challenge you, unless the creature successfully hides from you. So love that ability, love blindsight. Then you also have explosive fury, which when you activate your aspect of the worm, draconic fury explodes from you. Choose any number of creatures you can see in your aura. Each of those creatures must succeed on a dexterity saving throw, or take 3d10 acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison damage. So this is just
So,
another way to. What I like about it is that this kind of just like stacks on top of what you're already going to be doing.
mhm.
So it makes the Breath of the Dragon more worthwhile. Makes your aspect of the worm more worthwhile.
So overall thoughts, Michael, on the published form of the Way of the Ascended Dragon Monk?
I think this thing is overflowing with a lot of flavor. If you're going to be playing this subclass, you're really going to feel like you're emulating the dragons that your character may worship or be trying to hunt down. And if you're going to be playing the subclass, find opportunities to get in the midst or near those mobs, because you're going to get a lot of value out of your breath of the weapon when you're hitting more than 1 or 2 targets. And I think that's where you're going to feel the good strength of this subclass is when you're facing off against minions. Which, by the way, this book adds minions, so maybe it'll inspire DM to be throwing more minions at you guys. It's certainly doing it for me. Sorry, my players.
Michael's players, no taking notes. Um, I agree that I love the flavor of this. I'm gonna guess that like the changes they made from Unearthed Arcana were just necessary to sort of bring this in line. Much as I love the idea of using damage on an entire 30-foot aura, that I think they switched to sort of emphasizing like switching to like frightful presence and other sort of intimidation factor, flavor factor, and also useful in battle ways of interacting create a flavor I really enjoy for the Ascended Dragon Monk. And I am excited to encounter them. And also to have people describe their spectral wings. We're getting a lot of fun flying options lately, and I think that's neat.
Exactly.
Mm,
Yeah, I take any opportunity to flavor what my character is doing. You can have two of the same characters in this game, and they could feel completely different based off of just how you're describing your actions. And I think this book does a good job of encouraging you to really think about, like, okay, well, what makes my character unique? Because maybe there is going to be someone who's sharing a subclass, but if you're playing a Drake Warden Ranger, I always go back to the fact that you can customize what your Drake is going to look like, and so I say take a look at those particular features and see, like, okay, what is the essence of my character? How do I make them really mine? Because that's what that's what I'm seeing in this book, is that they want to push you towards that.
I love that so much. And you can, of course, take inspiration from any of the different dragon sections. And since you brought up the Drake Warden Rangers, I do think I had so much fun in our discussion of the preview version. But as we talk about bringing them into the published game and being able to share the good stuff, can we take a quick look at that art that comes with the Drake Warden Ranger that I've been dying to share for weeks? Look at it! It's so
Oh,
beautiful. It's so precious.
it's so cute.
Look, I can be excited about flavor and also about just the cutest. Who's a good Drake? That's a good Drake. Um, Caption: A dragonborn Drake Warden shares affection with her Drake companion. All right. You can grab either of these subclasses when you pick up Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, which is out right now. So please tell us what you're excited for, what you're going to build with them, and your thoughts in the comments.
It's D&D.